So sorry, Bills fans, but it looks like Josh Allen won't be getting that MVP award after all. Lamar Jackson stakes his claim for a third MVP award. We touch on that and more next on Ravens Talk.
Look, this the Raven Talk, this the Raven Talk, this the Raven Talk podcast. Follow us on Instagram, on YouTube for the broadcast. Say this the Raven Talk, this the Raven Talk, this the Raven Talk podcast. Not old news, this is new news to the whole world where they ball at. Come and listen to the former writer for the Baltimore Sports Illustrated.
The typical NFL franchise plays 3 games in a span of 21 days. The Ravens had to do it in the span of 11. In all 3 contests, blowout wins. Must be nice to be a Ravens fan. Welcome to Ravens Talk. I'm your host, Njoku. As I mentioned, the Ravens defeated the Giants, Steelers, and Texans in a span of 11 games. 2 of those 3 teams are playoff teams, and they made them look inferior to the red-hot Baltimore Ravens. We touched on those games. We touched on the MVP race. As I mentioned at the beginning of the show, it looks like Josh Allen's claim has been snatched because of superior performances by Lamar Jackson. We touched on all of those things. But first, Lamar Jackson and those Baltimore Ravens get the gauntlet done. 3 games in 11 days. We looked at that at the beginning of the season and said, what were the NFL schedulers thinking? What was going through their heads when they decided to make that decision with these 3 games? Obviously, the answer is money. The Ravens combat the greed of the NFL machine and get the job done. Obviously, we already talked about the Giants win. The Ravens got that job done in New Jersey. But then the Steelers and Texans, back-to-back. Pittsburgh always plays the Ravens tough, always comes to play, always finds a way to defeat the Ravens. Circumstances, you throw that out the window and just say, yeah, the Steelers have got the Ravens number. But I talked about it on the show before the first contest between these 2 teams. And I talked about it last week prior to the contest against the Steelers. The Steelers are over here and the Ravens are over here. It's been like that all year. Russell Wilson doesn't have the pieces in place as far as skill set or talent around them. I mean, remember, George Pickens did not play in that contest. So no surprise that the Ravens were able to get it done. Defeated the Steelers 34-17. Whooped them. I mean, spanked them. Have you ever seen a child get spanked in public? If you haven't, take a look at the clips from the Ravens-Steelers game. You'll see exactly what I'm talking about. It was almost difficult to watch if you weren't a Ravens fan. I mean, of course, me being who I am, I enjoyed every second of it. Usually my social media is crowded with Pittsburgh Steelers fans following contests, win or lose. Man, Steelers fans were eerily quiet after that one. Not a lot of talk, not a lot of yapping. They went back to the old tricks. Oh, let's fire Mike Tomlin. You know, the only reason why we're even relevant, let's get rid of him. Yeah, sure, Steelers fans. One day you'll realize the real reason for your dismay and your real reason for the way you are handling business and the way that you're unable to get to the postseason is not Mike Tomlin. You haven't had a quarterback since Ben Roethlisberger left. And you got Big Brother in the AFC North, the Baltimore Ravens there to keep you down a peg, to keep you where you belong, which is at the middle of the pack. You and the Bengals can fight it out to see who's the second best in the division, but ever since Lamar Jackson has come into this league, it's been apparent that Lamar Jackson and these Baltimore Ravens are the best, the cream of the crop in the AFC North, and they have a chance to clinch the division and potentially, depending on the outcome of a couple of contests on Sunday, 2 seed, which is unbelievable to think about at this point. The Bills and the Ravens had a head-to-head matchup in week 4. Already talked about it. We know the Ravens demolished the Bills. The Bills still have a 2-game advantage over the Ravens, but if the Bills were to fall these last 2 games and the Ravens pick up their last win against the Browns on week 18, the Ravens would have the number 2 seed, which is crazy to think. I'm just saying, it looks like there's a collision course for the Chiefs and the Ravens in the AFC Championship game, and boy, what an exciting time that would be. I would have loved for that to be at M&T Bank Stadium, kind of right or wrong from last year, but we'll take Arrowhead. The Ravens will have a chance to deliver the same type of pain that the Chiefs dealt the Ravens last season. But get a little ahead of ourselves. Talked about the Steelers doing what they need to do, losing because they are in fact bottom of the. I don't want to say bottom of the barrel. That's kind of harsh. You know, this is the Ravens Talk podcast, and I know it's in my nature to jab a little bit at Steelers when they're down, but you know, I feel bad. It feels like I'm kicking a wounded puppy at this point. The Steelers are just reeling. 3 straight losses. You talked about how the Steelers haven't played anybody. You see what happens. They played the Eagles, stomped. Played the Ravens, double stomp. They played the Chiefs on Christmas Day. Ugh. made the Chiefs look relevant again. Oh, it was kind of tough to watch. Sorry, Pittsburgh fans, but we tried to tell you. I tried to warn you. You're getting too big for your britches now. Mike Tomlin can only take this team so far. When you face top-tier quarterbacks, when you face top-tier teams, that is when your deficiencies will shine brightest because everyone's looking at the quarterback to make the play to keep you in the game. Russell Wilson does not have that skill set any longer. Lamar Jackson has that skill set. Patrick Mahomes has that skill set. Josh Allen, potential runner-up for the MVP, has that skill set. Russell Wilson doesn't have it. And so if you don't have that skill set, it's hard for me to believe in you as a franchise, no matter how great your defense has been. Even though the Steelers' defense is wobbly a little bit, they're taking a step back. Looked like a couple of jabs by the Eagles a couple of weeks ago really reeled them. And the Ravens had success running the football against them. The Chiefs pretty much did whatever they wanted to against them. I don't know. Steelers are looking like a team that could have potentially been a team to go on a type of a run. Maybe not win the championship, maybe not get to the AFC championship, but 1 or 2 game win. I kind of figured, but I don't know now. Looking like if the Steelers make the postseason, they'll have to face most likely the Texans. And maybe the Texans aren't the better team in that matchup, but who's to say with the way the Steelers have looked? Let's talk about the Texans because the Ravens just got rid of another playoff team in the AFC. Texans, Ravens defeated them 31-2. What a butt whooping. What an absolute butt whooping. I mean, if you think about it, all 33 points were scored by the Baltimore Ravens. 31 points by the Ravens offensive special teams, and the extra 2 points by Derrick Henry, who got tackled for a safety. Were it not for the safety, it would have been a shutout. I mean, the defense is firing. Kyle Hamilton, interception. Looking great. I don't see a situation in which this defense takes a step back. I think we're starting to see Zachary Orr coming to his own. Dean Pease brought in certainly has helped. I've seen people give a lot more credit than I think maybe do. No offense to Dean Pease in that regard, but there are certain things that we've seen from this defense that lets me believe they're going to be a problem come postseason time. Who in the AFC has you believing that they can really torch the Ravens offense? I think you really need a special receiver and along with a special quarterback to make it happen. The Steelers have that special receiver, but don't have the special quarterback. Chiefs obviously have the special quarterback. The Bills have the special quarterback. I mean, the only team that can really get this defense fits is one fighting to get in the Cincinnati Bengals, and they're a long shot. They're a long shot. So Texans looked pretty bad. Now, in the Texan fans' defense, Tank Dell, gruesome injury. So they're reeling emotionally from that loss. And they're one of the teams that had to play in a 4-day span. So much credit goes out to the Texans, even though they did play at home. They do have the advantage there, but they're reeling. D'Amico Ryans is trying to do their best to get his team together, but they ran into a buzzsaw, Lamar Jackson. When we come back, we'll talk about what that game in Houston means for Lamar Jackson's MVP running. I'm telling you, it's looking like Lamar is going to be known as MV3 at the end of this season. We touch on why I think that next on Ravens Talk. Welcome back to Ravens Talk. We mentioned it. The Ravens defeated the Steelers and Texans in the span of 4 days. Both blowout wins by the Baltimore Ravens. 17-point win against the Steelers. 29-point win against the Houston Texans. And all eyes are now on number 8, Lamar Jackson, who has led this team to a record in which they can potentially get the 2 seed. I know it's a long shot for a 2 seed. I think they're guaranteed at least a 3 seed after this victory over the Texans. So they'll either be the 2 seed or 3 seed, most likely the 3 seed. And then it's looking like a matchup between the Chargers are in order, which will be very nice to see these Chargers come back into Baltimore. Very reminiscent of a playoff game, wild card round against the then San Diego Chargers when they came to Baltimore and defeated the Ravens and started this whole, can Lamar Jackson really get it done? It'd be nice to see that be the cap of a Super Bowl run for Lamar Jackson. But again, we're getting a little ahead of ourselves. Let's focus on the here and now. Let's focus on Lamar Jackson because he has switched the narrative, shifted the narrative potentially to his way as far as the MVP is concerned. Now, Josh Allen, Vegas standards, still considered the favorite to win it. That's because he's had a couple of big marquee matchups against the Lions and the Chiefs. Only loss to the Chiefs, handed to by the Buffalo Bills. So much respect and credit goes to the Buffalo Bills and Josh Allen. But I think we're all starting to understand it. We've understood it. You and I, we've understood it for a little bit now. But the national media, the voters, the pundits are starting to understand that we are witnessing excellence, history in the making. Lamar Jackson, in this contest against the Houston Texans, broke the all-time rushing record for a QB in a career, eclipsing Michael Vick's record. So that's one thing working for him. Now, that is over a career, so that doesn't have much to do with the season, but it goes to show you what type of success Lamar Jackson's had over his span as a quarterback for the Baltimore Ravens, as well as what he's been able to accomplish recently. His huge run, the 40-plus yard run for a touchdown, just a small piece of what Lamar Jackson's been able to do. I mean, we talked about it before the Steelers game. Lamar Jackson is going to have an opportunity in big-time matchups against the Steelers team, who many believe that Lamar Jackson has trouble with, and the Texans team on Christmas in Netflix. You know, Netflix is again, that Netflix game was pretty spectacular as far as the viewer standpoint. The cameras were, 8K, it felt like? Shout outs to Netflix, but I digress. Huge matchups against the Steelers and Texans, the whole world watching. Showcase your talents, and you're back in the race. Not only is he back in the race, I think that he's the odds-on favorite right now in terms of what the narrative is being preached about on social media, what voters are actually expressing that they have the voters starting to say about Lamar Jackson, and he deserves it. He's clearly the best. I mean, I'd hate to spar the back and forth of Buffalo Bills fans, but statistically, he is just lapping Josh Allen in so many categories. It's ridiculous. I mean, it's nonsense if you're really thinking about it in the sense of who really should win the award. I think obviously it should be Lamar Jackson. There are some politics to it. We talked about it. Voter fatigue. Lamar Jackson just won it last year. Just won it. Josh Allen has been trying his best to get that recognition. He's starting finally to get it together. Has a third of the amount of interceptions that he had last year. He has lots of touchdowns, mostly through the ground, some passing as well. In fact, I probably should switch that. He has a lot of passing touchdowns and 13 rushing touchdowns or so. So he's starting to get it together. He's a complete package as a quarterback. And so the media has a soft spot for that. Let's give this guy some recognition. He's been excellent as a quarterback. And I would say, yeah, let's do that. If history wasn't being made before our very eyes. Lamar Jackson has a chance to throw for 4,000 yards and rush for 1,000. Lamar Jackson, as of now, has the second highest passer rating in a season in the history of the sport. Aaron Rodgers has just a little bit of a higher rating when he won that MVP award. No quarterback has ever had above a 120 passer rating and not won the award. All of this to say, what are we doing? What are we doing? What are we really doing here? What are we talking about? Lamar Jackson is going to be fighting for the division title against the Cleveland Browns. He's going to be playing his absolute hardest. The Bills might lock up the 2 seed on Sunday against the New York Jets. If that happens, there's a good chance Buffalo rests Josh Allen for Week 18 and gives Lamar Jackson the go-ahead to get that award. Does the award mean anything? I've seen a lot of people, local, national media, some friends of mine even, talk about why is there such a big debate about the MVP award? Go out and win a championship. Yeah, I get that. But this is fun. I'm having fun talking about it. This is one of the only things in football, really, that we have an opinion that matters in certain aspects. The media decides who wins the award. The players go out and play, and we have to decide. There's no scoreboard. It's all a matter of opinion. And this is a show based off opinion, so I'm going to talk about it. So I know I get it. The MVP award doesn't stand for anything. The championship matters. New Orleans matters. This really doesn't matter in all aspects. But I'm going to talk about it because it's fun. It's fun to debate. And it is a debate. As you mentioned, there is a case for both quarterbacks. The case is stronger for Lamar. I mean, there's just any unbiased person will tell you that. Of course, you see the insignia behind me. You see the title of the podcast. You know there's some bias with Lamar because I've watched Lamar over the span of his career, let alone the span of this season. I don't see as much Josh Allen as Lamar Jackson, so I need to clarify that when talking about this. There is a slight bias just to the fact because I've been exposed to more Lamar Jackson. Yes. But what else is there to see? The proof is in the pudding. I've seen a plethora of Josh Allen's games, especially the highs. Some lows, but especially the highs. I've witnessed it. Phenomenal quarterback. Would I be upset if he won the award? No. He deserves the award if he wins it. But for my money, the best quarterback, the most valuable quarterback, Lamar Jackson. Now, again, another point. People say, well, Josh Allen doesn't have a Derrick Henry. He doesn't have a Mark Andrews. He doesn't have a Zay Flowers. Yeah, Derrick Henry's a Hall of Fame running back. Yeah, got it. But he's playing better this year than in previous seasons with Tennessee. Why? Why do you think? Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson takes the focus away from Derrick Henry entirely. Not entirely, but predominantly, more so than any time of his career. That's why he's having the success. He's not having the success because he suddenly got stronger and faster. No, he has the success because defenses cannot just pinpoint the attack on one Derrick Henry because they just lose. They just lose to Lamar Jackson. Some teams decide to do that. Now, the Giants were one. The Giants in week 14 or 15 decided to attack Derrick Henry. They weren't going to lose to him. Lamar beat us with the arm. Lamar threw 5 touchdown passes. There's some games where they say, okay, Lamar, we know you're the truth. Someone else is going to have to beat us. It won't be you. Derrick Henry will run for almost 200 yards. That's the complexity of this offense. That's why this team is likely going to reach the championship. But in regards to who's playing the best, it's number 8. It's always been number 8. We didn't have the primetime games late in the season to see it. Remember, this time last year, Brock Purdy was the favorite. Brock Purdy, not Lamar. It took a Christmas game massacre by the Ravens to get Lamar Jackson to the top. Same thing's happening in this one. Houston Texans get trounced 31-2. Now all eyes are on number 8. Will I be hyped? Will I be excited with the Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson gets the MVP award? Yes. Will I be disappointed if he gets this and doesn't reach the championship? Absolutely. But, pundits, you gotta relax. Enjoy the debate. It's a heated debate on social media. People are talking about it all over the place. Pundits, analysts are going back on their sayings that, this MVP race is over. Clearly, it's not over. Yes, it's all good and fun. Fans are enjoying it, I'm sure. I'm enjoying it. I'm sure the players could care less about it, but it is what it is. We love talking about it because it's a very enticing topic. Both sides make a case. And I'm sure Saquon Barkley fans are like, what about us? What about us? It's not a running back award. Clearly, this is going to go to the QB for years to come because we have so much talent at QB. Patrick Mahomes, widely considered to be the best quarterback in the league, has not won it in quite some time because there are QBs out there who are just getting it done consistently, effortlessly. And, don't get me saying that, but if I had to choose between Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson, I'm taking your boy Lamar Jackson. That's bias. That's bias. I'll admit that. That's bias, but sue me. Sue me. When we get back, we'll get final thoughts as we head into the final game of the season. What are some things I'm looking for? What are the things that could keep this Ravens team from really reaching their full potential as the road to the playoffs comes crashing to a halt? A lot of teams are fighting for that spot. Ravens are fighting for a division title. They clinched the playoff berth when they defeated the Steelers. But there's a chance they can win the division. How did they get it done? We touch on it next on Ravens Talk. Welcome back to Ravens Talk. As we mentioned, the Ravens defeated the Texans on Christmas Day, 31-2, trounced them in front of the world to see. Netflix special. It was great. Lamar Jackson now an MVP finalist, most likely. He's going to probably win the award unless something crazy happens between now and January 6th when the voting starts. It's just fantastic if you're a Ravens fan. But we all know that the regular season was never the objective for Ravens fans. There has been a mission in the minds and hearts of fans and coaches and players alike since the Ravens lost in the AFC Championship game, and that is to get back to the AFC Championship and right a wrong. Now, To get to the AFC Championship, you got to get to the playoffs, and the Ravens did just that, clinching it by defeating the Steelers pretty handily, 34-17. Now they have a chance to win the division. What does the division title do? It guarantees you a home playoff game in the wild card round. The Chiefs lock up the 1 seed, something the Ravens had last year. So the Ravens' chances of avoiding the wild card is gone, but there are still advantages to being the 2 or 3 seed for starters. If you are the 2 or 3 seed and the lower seed team makes it to the AFC Championship along with you, that means that the 1 or 2 seed have been eliminated from the playoffs, and that still gives you that playoff game in Baltimore, home playoff AFC Championship game in Baltimore. So there's incentive for the Ravens to try their best to get that home field advantage, get that division title, obviously for bragging rights and for those playoff purposes. So what do the Ravens need to do? 1, beat the Browns. Beat the Browns. They got to beat the Browns. Ravens lost to the Browns the first time. Looks like DTR is going to be the quarterback unless something crazy happens at the Week 17 matchup the Browns have. We'll see what happens. They play the Dolphins. I think it's going to happen. We can have Jameis Winston back, which makes me a little nervous considering how much success Winston had. But that was before the makeshift of the defense. Before the defense turned the corner. Again, the Browns are looking for a high seed too in the draft, and I don't trust anyone that says that teams aren't going to tank to get those high draft picks. So I think the Ravens are going to do exactly what they need to do and get the job done against the Browns. What if they don't get the job done? What if something crazy happens and the Browns find a way to defeat the Ravens? Well, the Steelers will have to then lose to the Bengals. If the Steelers lose to the Bengals, no matter what happens in that Ravens contest, the Ravens win the division. That's what happens when you control your own destiny, baby. That's what happens when you beat the Steelers by 17 points. Now, how do you get the 2 seed? Now, 2 seed's not as good as the 1 seed, but it's almost as good. If you get the 2 seed, that means you're guaranteed a home playoff AFC Championship game if the Chiefs were to lose during their postseason run. Hard to see them doing so, but you never know. How did the Ravens get the 2 seed? Well, first, Ravens got to beat the Browns. We're back at it. Ravens beat the Browns. There's no way the Ravens get the 2 seed without beating the Browns on Sunday in Week 18. Now, the Bills have to do something that no one expects to happen. They have to lose to the Jets and the Patriots. And the Patriots gave them a run for their money in the first half last week. So I'm not saying it's out of the realm of possibility, but I'd be shocked. Jets game, I could see the Bills losing that game. In fact, earlier in this week on social media, I said the Jets would be the ones to defeat the Bills. So there's a chance for the 2 seed. Not likely, but there's a chance. Then the seeding would take shape. Either way, the Ravens are definitely going to make the playoffs, and I'd be surprised if they're not your back-to-back AFC North champions. Lots of things to go over. Come next week, we'll talk about the Browns game. We'll touch on the Bengals potentially being a team to be reckoned with. Let's see what they do in Week 17. But there's a chance if the Bengals were to beat the Broncos, Bengals could be sneaking into the playoffs. And how do Ravens fans feel about that? We'll touch on all that and more next. But that's going to do us for it here at Ravens Talk. Again, appreciate it so much. If you're a Steelers fan, I'm so sorry. Your season's most likely going to be over. If you're a Texans fan, I'm so sorry. It's looking like it's going to be a 3-man race between the Ravens, Bills, and Chiefs. Texans give it a good try. Steelers, I mean, you're pretenders. I mean, there's no way about it. You're pretenders. Again, kudos to you for making it with another winning season, whatever that does for your fancy. I hope you feel good about those winning seasons and not showing much for it. But I digress. Ravens have a shot at making a wrong right by defeating whoever's in the AFC Championship game with them. Again, we'll talk about all of this stuff next week. I appreciate you. I hope you had a Merry Christmas. Hope all of your holidays were as exciting as mine because Ravens got the job done and I got some pretty good gifts. Hope you did too. We'll talk to you soon. See ya.
Follow us on Instagram, on YouTube for the broadcast. Said this the Raven Talk, this the Raven Talk, this the Raven Talk podcast. Not old news, this is new news to the whole world where they ball at.